If your relationship is getting bad, do something about it now. Hello, beautiful people. My name is Athol. This is The Dateable Marriage, and let's just jump into it. And I want to talk today about something I got in my email from the John Gottman blog, which I think is going to dovetail really nicely into that concept of relationship momentum that I talk about. So here it is. The average couple waits 6 years before seeking help, and by that point, it can be too late. The good news is that, according to the research, prevention is 3 times more effective than intervention. Getting help early is the key to staying ahead of gridlocked marital conflict. And that is so true. And one of the deeper questions is like, okay, so why do people wait? Why does it take so long? Why does it take 6 years before anyone does anything? And that's because of relationship momentum. If you're in a good relationship and you're at that high-level baseline of 80%, where things are actually really good, things are fine, things are great, and then something happens. There is some sort of negative event. There's some sort of life change. Now you have, twin kids and everyone is exhausted. Someone loses their job. Someone is sick. You have to move your house, or there's excess business travel, or whatever it is. There's some sort of negative thing that enters into the relationship. But the relationship doesn't immediately start to fail. It just slowly starts to drift down. And when your relationship is at 80% happiness, and then it drifts to 79, and then it drifts to 78, and then it drifts to 77, and then down, 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 or you can get all the way down to 70% momentum and happiness after about a year. The relationship's still fine, it's not blowing up, people are getting on, it's just sort of lost some of its sparkle. And then a year later it's down to 60%, and a year after that it's down to 50, and a year after that it's 40, and then 5 or 6 years later it's down at 20 or 30%, and people are really starting to get miserable and starting to really fight and starting to be really vicious and mean and difficult with each other. And then that's when they start looking for help. That's when they start reading relationship books. That's when they start going to counseling. That's when they try and figure it all out. The trouble is, once you're down at that 20 to 30% range, you have the original problem that kicked all this off that still probably exists, but now you've also had 5 or 6 years of more negative interactions with each other, more fighting, more people being unhappy. The sex is starting to really go, and you may have even had other life things pop up as well. So instead of just having one problem to really work on and address and manage, now you probably have 3 or 4 fairly significant problems, and the order of difficulty at fixing things just gets that much higher. Compared to if you figured out when the relationship hits 60 or 70%, like, we're drifting, we're not being us. What is happening to us? Why are we starting to feel a little bit blah about the relationship, a little bit blah about each other? What is going on here? We need to value this and proactively work on it. We can't let this downward slide continue. The other reason is that it makes it so much harder to fix these relationships is that if you're all the way down at 20 to 30%, you can sometimes have to spend a year or two pulling the relationship, really carefully managing it, really controlling your emotions, and consciously attracting and supporting each other to even get the relationship back to 60 or 70. And don't get me wrong, that is huge progress, and it is very impressive. And as someone who cares about relationships, it's amazingly exciting when I see a relationship go from a really bad place to a fairly good one. But that's still time and energy and effort to just raise the momentum back up to where you could have started addressing the problems in the first place. If you're catching your relationship heading down when you're at that 60 to 70% level, this is what amounts to a one or 2 year little bit of a dip in your relationship. But if you let it get all the way down to 20 or 30%, you're risking the end of the relationship, and it's probably a big 3, 4, 5, 6 year decline in your relationship, and a good solid 1 to 2, maybe even 3 years to rise it back up out of it. It's a long time. If you see a relationship going down, talk about it, flag it to each other, start working on it proactively. So that's it for today, and I will talk to you soon.